It was a quiet evening in the small town of Hollow Creek, the kind of place where everyone knew each other's business. Jane, a schoolteacher, had recently moved into an old Victorian house at the edge of town. The house, with its creaking floors and ivy-covered walls, had been vacant for years, earning a reputation among locals for being haunted. Jane, however, was a skeptic and dismissed the stories as nothing more than small-town gossip. One Friday night, Jane invited a few colleagues over for a housewarming party. The night was filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses. As the evening wore on, the guests began to share ghost stories, egged on by the setting. Someone mentioned the old legend about the house, claiming that a woman named Eleanor had died there under mysterious circumstances. The clock struck midnight, and the guests began to leave, each a little uneasy after the eerie tales. Jane, now alone, decided to clean up before heading to bed. As she collected the empty glasses and plates, she heard a soft knock at the front door. Curious, she opened it but found no one there. A chill ran down her spine as she looked out into the dark, empty street. Shrugging it off, she locked the door and returned to the kitchen. As she was washing dishes, she heard the knock again, this time louder and more insistent. Jane walked back to the door, her heart pounding. She opened it to find nothing but the night air. She stepped outside, looking around, but the street was deserted. Feeling unsettled, she closed the door firmly and turned the deadbolt. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. As she walked back through the hallway, the lights flickered, and she felt a sudden coldness envelop her. The old house creaked and groaned as if settling into the night, but the sound seemed more deliberate, more present. Jane tried to calm herself, rationalizing that it was just the wind or the age of the house. She decided to call it a night and headed upstairs to her bedroom. As she climbed the stairs, she noticed a faint, sweet smell, like lavender, drifting through the air. It was strange because she didn't use any scented products. She entered her bedroom and froze. On her bed lay a single, old-fashioned handkerchief, delicately embroidered with the initials EW. Jane's heart raced as she picked it up, her mind racing with thoughts of the ghost stories from earlier. She had never seen this handkerchief before. How had it gotten there? Suddenly, she felt a presence behind her. Turning slowly, she saw a faint figure in the mirror, an ethereal woman dressed in a long, flowing gown. The figure's eyes met Jane's, filled with a sorrowful longing. Jane gasped, dropping the handkerchief as she stumbled back. The figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Terrified, Jane grabbed her phone and dialed her friend Sarah, who had been at the party. She could barely speak, her voice trembling as she recounted what had happened. Sarah, hearing the panic in Jane's voice, promised to come over immediately. While waiting for Sarah, Jane sat in her living room, her eyes darting around the room, listening to every creak and groan. The minutes felt like hours. The knocking started again, this time from inside the house. It was coming from the basement. Jane hesitated, but felt compelled to follow the sound. She approached the basement door, her hand shaking as she reached for the knob. The door creaked open, revealing a dark staircase leading down into the depths of the house. The knocking continued, more urgent now. Gathering her courage, Jane descended the stairs, the air growing colder with each step. She reached the bottom and flicked on the light. The basement was cluttered with old furniture and dusty boxes, untouched for years. The knocking had stopped, replaced by a soft whispering sound. Jane followed the whispers to an old, ornate chest in the corner. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, she found old photographs, letters, and a diary. She picked up the diary, noticing it was inscribed with the name Eleanor Whitaker, the same initials as on the handkerchief. Flipping through the pages, she read about Eleanor's life in the house and her untimely death. Eleanor had been a young woman who lived alone after losing her family. She wrote about feeling watched, about strange occurrences in the house, and her growing fear of an unseen presence. The final entry was chilling. "He won't let me leave. I'm trapped in this house, bound to him." From that night on, Jane kept Eleanor's diary and handkerchief as a tribute to the woman who had lived there before her. Though she never spoke of it, Jane often felt Eleanor's presence, a quiet reminder that she wasn't alone in the house. Sometimes, she would hear soft footsteps in the halls and whisper, "Good night, Eleanor," knowing the house shared its secrets with an uninvited guest.